Threshold, grid hums, wet carpet, endless aisles, corner loops. Supply nodes, service hall, freight door. Threshold. What if level 0 is not random at all, but a training lobby where the fluorescent hum and off-kilter seams are the first compass? The page describes a flickering office maze with non-Euclidean layout and a constant buzz, and that is exactly why sprinting ruins your odds. Threshold. This is commentary and critique for education and entertainment. Major spoilers ahead. The lobby is a pressure maze. Exits are rare, but the bones of a real building still poke through the wallpaper if you read the signs instead of your fear. Threshold. Comment the key detail you noticed first. Was it the buttery light, the damp in the carpet, or that supplies never appear where you expect them? Your answer tells me which sense you trust, and that decides whether you move or loop. Threshold. The move is simple. Slow your breathing until you can hear the air. Then audit 3 things: ceiling grid alignment, wall seam continuity, and carpet saturation. If the ceiling and seams refuse to line up while the carpet darkens along a band, you are past the door and inside the map. Grid hums. The hum is not flavor text. It is a power map that lets you rank corridors by stability. Where the drone is even and full, you are near heavier runs and keeping company with the building's backbone. Grid hums. The pressure here is adaptation. After minutes of exposure, your brain erases the sound, and you lose the only compass that does not blink. So you sample it on purpose. Stop at a junction, face each corridor, and listen for flutter versus body. Grid hums. Some claim the hum shifts too wildly to guide anyone. The survival counter is repetition. Open showrooms stutter and flutter, but backstage lines hold steady. When in doubt, follow the even drone until carpet and air begin to add their own signals. Wet carpet. Moisture is a map of plumbing you cannot see. Where the carpet stays cool and dark across more than a dozen steps, you are under a water run or near a service cluster that pretends to be a hallway. Wet carpet. The constraint is contamination. The liquid is not for drinking and can irritate skin, which means you treat it as ink, not relief. Trace the gradient at its edge, not the center, and let that line guide you along real structure instead of showroom loops. Wet carpet. Critics say wet patches pop up anywhere, so how can this help? The stronger detail is persistence. Random blotches die quickly, but a band with a clear border runs long, and long lines almost always echo real infrastructure choices. Endless aisles. Long partitions copy and paste into false infinity, selling you distance without variety. You walk and walk, yet you never pass a true column or a service node, only the same wall at a new angle. Endless aisles. The mechanic that breaks the spell is an audit for variety. Count 2 ceiling tile formats, 3 scuff patterns, and 1 change in carpet weave. If the count never changes over a long stretch, you pivot sideways through the copy chain instead of pushing forward into nothing. Endless aisles. If that is true, then forward is the trap and sideways is the door. People worry that a lateral cut is random, but the clean seam you hit off the treadmill is a better lead than another 100 meters of sameness. Corner loops. Here the lefts feed more lefts, and you return to where you started with no honest reason. It feels haunted, but it is your sense of space slipping on a frictionless curve. Corner loops. Do not fight a loop with marks that vanish when you blink. Fight it with physics. Stand at a cross, close your eyes, and feel for airflow on your cheekbones and a tiny shift in temperature on your forearms. Stale air clings to loops. A faint draft hints at a fracture. Corner loops. Some argue airflow is useless indoors. The best test is direction. A draft that keeps the same angle across 2 corners is not a fantasy. It is a corridor pulling air from a volume you cannot see yet. Chase that line until the hum stabilizes again. Supply nodes. The most stable rule about level 0 is that supplies do not behave like a normal building. That means a neat crate in a spotlight is not a gift. It is evidence that something is bent nearby. Supply nodes. The pressure here is hunger. After an hour in yellow light, anything that looks like help feels earned. That is the psychology the lobby exploits to steer you off the spine. Supply nodes. Use negative space logic. In a real office backline, provisions sit near staff paths and storage clusters. In the lobby, The first time you see a perfect stash stranded in the open, treat it as an arrow that points away from the copy floor and toward the service lanes. Service hall. Backstage reintroduces purpose. The air cools, the drone gets thick and even, and the floor goes from soft to something that can take a pallet. This is where a handoff can be staged. Service hall. Do not commit on one cue. Cross-validate 3. Even hum, moisture now tucked to edges like spill marks, and small scars at belt height from traffic. 2 cues mean you are close. 3 means you stop hesitating and follow the spine. Service hall. Yes, canons vary and fake doors exist, but fakes live in noise while handoffs live in convergence. The more backstage signals stack together, the less the lobby can lie. Freight door. Survivors report wide openings that are wrong for customers and right for pallets, with cooler air and a deeper body of sound. This is your exit vector. Freight door. The pattern interrupt is to test the metal without romance. Put your palm near the seam and feel for live vibration. A real handoff carries a bass you can sense in your skin if you give it 3 quiet counts. Freight door. Here is a vignette. A janitor's cart sits abandoned, one wheel denting the carpet into a pale trench. A courier follows the trench into a denser hum, steps past a too-perfect crate, and reaches a shutter that breathes cold air. He waits for the thrum, hears it deepen, and steps through. Freight door. Second vignette. A merchandiser counts tile formats and fails the variety audit for the 5th time. So she cuts sideways, hits a misfit corner with a cross breeze, and traces a long, wet edge until the floor stiffens. 3 tells stack, then a distant clank repeats like a heartbeat down a throat of concrete. She goes, not fast, but sure. Freight door. Do not glamorize harm. Focus on craft, logic, and psychology. The lobby is built to tire your mind, not to make you brave. The win is boring. Verify, then move. Freight door. The strongest rule lands late because it reframes the whole lobby. Level 0 pretends to be a lobby forever, but it cannot hide the bones of a working building. If that is true, then the way out is not luck or no-clip magic. It is a checklist. Freight door. Here is the checklist you can memorize under pressure. Read the mismatch at entry until you accept you are inside. Rank the hum and follow the even body. Walk the dark edge where the carpet draws a line. Cut sideways when infinity sells you copies. Break loops by feeling drafts, not drawing marks. Treat supplies as arrows, not gifts. Stay on the service spine. Choose the opening that breathes like a machine. Freight door. Run it once more while you are calm, because panic will steal nouns when you need them most. Threshold. Hum, damp, sideways, draft, arrows, spine, door. That is the whole map the lobby keeps whispering under the buzz. Freight door. I saw the signs.